Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next 30 minutes, Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukrainian troops are strengthening their positions in Russia's Kursk as Kyiv comes under attack. Belarus Lukashenko says his troops have been deployed all along the border with Ukraine. Antony Blinken is set to arrive in Tel Aviv as the US pushes for Gaza's ceasefire. He's expected to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Peace talks are due to resume next week. India's Home Minister gives out citizenship certificates to 188 Hindu refugees from neighbouring countries under the Citizenship Amendment Act. And reigning champions Real Madrid to kick off La Liga against Mallorca, featuring Kylian Mbappe's debut for the club. Coach Ancelotti emphasizes rest for the players during the season. As the fierce battle between Russia and Ukraine continues in the Kursk region, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that his troops have been strengthening their positions in Kursk and called the captured territories an exchange fund, implying they could be swapped for Ukrainian regions occupied by Moscow.
The operation is proceeding exactly as we planned. The bravery of Ukrainians is achieving great things. We are now strengthening our positions. The bridgehead of our presence is becoming stronger.
Now in its second week, this is Ukraine's deepest incursion into Russia since Moscow launched its full-scale operation more than 2 years ago. Ukraine's surprise cross-border operation has resulted in more than 1 lakh people fleeing to safety. Meanwhile, Zelensky renewed his calls for Ukraine's Western allies to allow long-range strikes into Russia.
We are doing everything possible to provide our soldiers with the necessary weapons and reinforcements. In this context, it is crucial that our partners remove barriers that prevent us from weakening Russian positions in the way the course of the war demands. Long-range capabilities of our forces are the answers to the most important and strategic questions of this war.
Safety at Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is deteriorating following a drone strike that hit a perimeter access road on Saturday, according to International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Mariano Grossi. The Russian management of Europe's largest nuclear power plant said a Ukrainian drone dropped an explosive charge on a road used by staff. Russia has been in control of the Zaporizhzhia site, the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, since soon after it launched a full-scale invasion or a special operation in Ukraine in February 2022. The plant is dormant as Moscow and Kyiv have repeatedly accused each other of trying to sabotage its operations and endangering safety around the plant. Ukraine's 41st Mechanized Brigade held live fire exercises on Saturday amid an incursion into Russia's Kursk region. Not disclosing the location of the drills for security reasons, the deputy commander of the brigade said that Ukraine was writing military history in its war against Russia. The conflict between the two countries has intensified after the 6th of August, after Ukraine stormed across the western border of Russia, after which Russia has retaliated multiple times. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko has said that Ukraine has stationed over 120,000 troops at its border with Belarus and Minsk, which earlier had nearly a third of its armed forces deployed along the entire border.
There are over 120,000 Ukrainian troops on the Belarusian-Ukrainian border. They are keeping them near our border. Seeing their aggressive policy we have introduced there and placed in certain points in case of war, they would be defense. Our military along the entire border, Belarusian-Ukrainian border, is mined as never before. There have not been any wars with that level of mining.
Amid all this, Russian President Vladimir Putin is traveling to Azerbaijan. This marks Putin's first trip to the Caucasus nation since 2018 and occurs as Russia aims to reassert its role as a mediator between Azerbaijan and its adversary Armenia. DD India's Dasha Chernashova has more from Moscow.
Further development of Russian-Azerbaijani relations of strategic partnership and alliance is expected to be discussed during Russian President Vladimir Putin's two-day state visit to Azerbaijan. The Kremlin says during the negotiations, Putin and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev will also discuss current international and regional issues. The sides are expected to adopt a joint statement of the heads of states and sign a number of documents. Last week, Russian Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu visited Baku. He said that the West threatened the security of South Caucasus by interfering into the affairs of the region. Putin last visited Baku in 2018, and Aliyev recently said Russia-Azerbaijani ties are an example for the neighboring states. A senior Russian lawmaker, Leonid Slutsky, said that the visit confirms the high level of strategic partnership between Moscow and Baku. Slutsky said the prospects for the cooperation between the two countries are steadily expanding across the entire range of cooperation in economic, political and humanitarian spheres. He also said that the two countries are staunch supporters of the establishment of a multipolar world order. Putin's visit comes against the backdrop of heightened tensions in the region and Russia's souring relations with Armenia. Aliyev last visited Moscow in April. Dasha Chernashova in Moscow, reporting for DD India.
And in another theatre of conflict, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is all set to arrive in Israel amid increased diplomatic efforts to reach a deal to end the fighting between Israel and Hamas and free Israeli hostages. This is Tony Blinken's 10th trip to West Asia since the conflict began in October last year. The top U.S. diplomat is expected to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday. Gaza ceasefire talks in Doha, mediated by the U.S., Qatar and Egypt, are due to resume next week. Now, a statement from Netanyahu's office said Israel's negotiating team had expressed cautious optimism on the possibility of advancing a deal. U.S. President Joe Biden on Friday said that following 2 days of talks in Doha, that efforts to reach a deal were now in sight, although he warned that negotiations were far from over. Thousands of people protested in Caracas against Venezuela's election results. Opposition leader Maria Corina Machado addressed the crowd, evoking the protesters and international and Venezuelan government to recognize opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez as the winner. The country's electoral authority has said President Nicolas Maduro won his third term in July 28 contest with just under 52% of the vote. But opposition leader Machado has published online what she claims are 83% of voting machine tallies, which give her party's candidate Edmundo Gonzalez a hearty 67% support. Venezuela's election results have sparked widespread protests globally. Thousands in Spain's Madrid and Florida's Miami recently joined protests against Venezuela's election results. Thousands of people have taken to the streets to express their outrage and concern, to call for justice and transparency. As the situation continues to unfold, the protests show no signs of abating, with demonstrators vowing to keep up the pressure until their demands for a legitimate and fair electoral process are met. The Venezuelan diaspora has also gathered in Colombia's capital, Bogota, to join the global protest called by Venezuelan opposition to protest against the results of the presidential elections amid accusations of electoral fraud committed by Nicolas Maduro. Colombia has received the highest percentage of Venezuelan citizens who have fled because of the political and economic situation in their country. As the U.S. presidential race becomes a close contest between two rival candidates, the Republican Donald Trump, he has increased his the pitch of his attack against Kamala Harris. Pennsylvania is their latest battleground, where both are trying to tilt the voters' mood for the polls on the 5th of November. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump was campaigning in Westbury in northeastern Pennsylvania on Saturday. While in the poll surveys, Trump's percentage is going down in comparison to Kamala Harris. Trump questioned the credibility of these predictions. The former U.S. president even took potshots against Harris on personal level, which could possibly not sound in good taste. He tried to convince his voters that beating his Democratic rival Kamala Harris will be easier for him than former Democratic aspirant President Joe Biden.
You know, they do polls and this stuff, and I'm at like 93%. I said, so why are we having an election? They didn't have an election. Why are we having an election? But I believe she will be easier to beat than him because she's a truly radical left lunatic.
As Kamala Harris's running mate and vice presidential candidate Timbs was campaigning in Nebraska, Pat came a reply from him about Trump's allegations and potshots. And addressing the rally in Nebraska's Omaha, Walz tried to corner Trump on his economic agenda. The Democratic vice presidential candidate said the former U.S. president was just a corporate-friendly man. He worked for the ultra-rich and will do more for them if he again comes to power.
Look, when he tries to play dumb about this 2025 plan, I coached football for enough years. When somebody takes the time to draw up a playbook, they plan on using it. He knows what this will do: restrict our freedoms, rig the economy for the ultra-rich by punishing the middle class. If he returns to the White House, he's going to pick up just where he left off. But the people around him who worked with him the first time are already telling us it will be much, much worse.
And Vice President Kamala Harris, too, is readying herself to respond to Trump's assertions soon in the same province, as she would conduct a bus tour of Western Pennsylvania starting in Pittsburgh on Sunday. Her Sunday response to Trump will be crucial, as she has to attend the Democratic National Convention the next day, where she will formally accept the party's presidential nomination, and she'll try to attract the confidence of her party for the presidential turf in comparison to the former president. Thailand's King Maha Vajiralongkorn on Sunday formally appointed Paetongtarn Shinawatra as Thailand's new Prime Minister. This paves the way for the formation of a cabinet in the coming weeks. Paetongtarn arrived with her father, former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, at the Pheu Thai Party headquarters to attend a royal endorsement ceremony some time back. She said she will continue with all the policies that former Prime Minister Shrestha was following. She also said her government will try to stimulate the economy, combat illegal drug problems, improve universal health care. On the issue of her father being part of the government, Paetongtarn said she is not considered a formal position for Thaksin in the government yet, but she will seek his advice. Paetongtarn has become Thailand's youngest Prime Minister just days after ally Srettha Thavisin was dismissed as Premier by the Constitutional Court. She is the third Shinawatra to be Prime Minister, but will hope to avoid the fate of her father and aunt Yingluck, both of whom were thrown out of power in military coups.
I am dedicated to pushing forward key policies, from economic reforms and the 30 baht healthcare improvements to enhancing digital infrastructure and promoting Thailand's soft power on the global stage. I promise to serve everyone equally and wholeheartedly, every age, every gender, every diversity. Together, let's turn any challenges into opportunities, making Thailand a place where everyone can dream, create, and shape their future.
While Paetongtarn's father, who is Thailand's former Prime Minister as well, Thaksin Shinawatra, received a royal pardon, shortening his parole by 2 weeks, and it happened just a day after his daughter was elected Premier by Parliament. Thaksin has been at the heart of a 2-decade power struggle between the Shinawatra family and its allies on the one hand, and on the other a nexus of royalists, generals and old money families that have long wielded influence over Thai governments and institutions. After a dramatic return last August from self-exile to avoid jail time in the wake of his overthrow in a 2006 military coup, Thaksin served 6 months in hospital detention due to health reasons. Later, he was released on parole in February. But after his return, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison for abuse of power and conflicts of interest during his time in office from 2001 to 2006. His sentence was commuted to 1 year by Thai King last September. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has congratulated Paetongtarn Shinawatra for becoming Thailand's new Prime Minister. In a post on X, the PM wrote, and I quote, "Congratulations Paetongtarn Shinawatra on your election as the Prime Minister of Thailand. Best wishes for a very successful tenure. Look forward to working with you to further strengthen the bilateral ties between India and Thailand that are based on the strong foundations of civilizational, cultural and people-to-people connect." Unquote. Sri Lanka's main presidential candidates kick-started their campaigns on Friday and Saturday, drawing thousands of people to their rallies ahead of the crucial elections on the 21st of September. Drone footage showed large crowds of people listening to speeches by the three frontrunners, incumbent President Ranil Wickremesinghe, main opposition leader Sajith Premadasa and Marxist-leaning parliamentarian Anura Kumara Dissanayake. The presidential poll in the Indian Ocean nation, grappling with the fallout of its worst financial crisis in decades, is key to charting Sri Lanka's way out of a crisis unleashed after exhausting its sovereign reserves, sending the economy into free fall and defaulting on foreign debt in 2022. Nearly 17 million of Sri Lanka's 22 million population are eligible to cast their vote. And still to come on DD India Live. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar called on Kuwait's Crown Prince of the state during his official visit. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurates a newly constructed state-of-the-art Coastal Guard rescue facility in Chennai. And India's Supreme Court has taken suo motu cognizance of the rape and murder of a doctor at Kolkata's Agargar Medical College.
Welcome to Jaipur.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Mpox or monkeypox cases are on the rise globally, with the African Union Health Agency reporting 18,737 suspected or confirmed cases in Africa this year, including 1,200 in just 1 week. This week, the first cases outside of Africa were recorded in Sweden and Pakistan. DD India's Isaac Lucando reports from Dar es Salaam.
The nearly 19,000 Mpox cases that have been reported this year include 3 strains of the virus. One strain, the new and more deadly Clade 1b, has prompted the World Health Organization to declare an international health emergency. In 2022, Mpox outbreaks occurred in over 70 countries that have never previously reported the disease. While vaccines and treatments helped control the virus in wealthy countries, doses remain scarce in Africa. This year, a potentially more infectious form of Mpox was identified in a mining town in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Congo's cases have surged, and at least 13 African countries have reported new outbreaks. The WHO says it will soon release recommendations from its emergency committee and has called for increased vaccine production. The global health body describes Mpox as a viral disease that spreads from animals to humans and through human-to-human contact, with symptoms including fever, muscle aches, and large skin lesions. Isaac Lukando in Dar es Salaam, reporting for DD India.
And time now to get you some more news from across the world. Over 100 firefighters were deployed to tackle a massive fire at London's iconic Somerset House on the Strand. No injuries or casualties have been reported so far. The iconic building is home to priceless paintings, including those by Vincent van Gogh. A Ferris wheel caught fire in Germany's Leipzig during a music festival. The fire first broke out in one passenger car and spread to a neighboring one. The horrific sky-high incident was caught on video as various police vans and emergency staff arrived at the scene. The police say that over 30 people are injured, along with 4 officers among those hurt. A rescue operation has been underway. Lost in waters deep, a group that searches for shipwrecks has found the wreck of HMS Hawk, a cruiser boat torpedoed by a German submarine in 1914. 525 sailors and Royal Marines died in the incident. The discovery was made off the coast of Aberdeenshire, approximately 70 miles east of Fraserburgh. Celebrated French actor Alain Delon, who starred in a string of classics such as Plein Soleil, Les Samouraïs and Rocco and His Brothers, passed away at the age of 88. With striking blue eyes, Delon was sometimes referred to as a French Frank Sinatra for his handsome looks. Delon was idolized by men and women alike, along with American cinema giants including Burt Lancaster, when the Frenchman played apprentice hitman Scorpio in the eponymous 1973 film. India's Home Minister Amit Shah presented Indian citizenship certificates to 188 Hindu refugees from neighbouring countries under the provisions of the Citizenship Amendment Act on Sunday in Ahmedabad. The Citizenship Amendment Act seeks to fast-track the process of granting Indian citizenship to Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis and Christians who migrated to India from Bangladesh, Afghanistan and Pakistan due to religious persecution, provided they have lived in India for 6 years and entered the country by the 31st of December 2014. In his address, Home Minister Shah stated that the provision of Indian citizenship to refugees under the CAA is a measure designed to ensure justice and grant rights to them.
CAA सिर्फ देश के लाखों लोगों को, देश में बस रहे लाखों लोगों को नागरिकता देने का कार्यक्रम नहीं है। सीएए देश में बस रहे लाखों शरणार्थियों को न्याय देने का और अधिकार देने का कार्यक्रम।
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar arrived in Kuwait on Sunday. In a post on microblogging site X, Dr. Jaishankar thanked his Kuwaiti counterpart Abdullah Ali Al Yahya for the warm welcome. The External Affairs Minister also called on the Crown Prince of the State of Kuwait, Sheikh Sabah Al Khalil Al Sabah Al Hamad Al Mubarak Al Sabah. During that meeting, he extended greetings from India's President Murmu and Prime Minister Modi to the leader. Dr. Jaishankar also expressed gratitude to the Crown Prince for his guidance and insights on elevating the relationship between India and Kuwait. Also, India's External Affairs Minister called on Sheikh Ahmad Abdullah Al Ahmad Al Jabbar Al Sabah, Prime Minister of Kuwait. Writing on social media platform X, Dr. Jaishankar said he conveyed the greetings of Prime Minister Modi and acknowledged deepening of India-Kuwait ties. Vice President of Gambia, Mohammed B.S. Jallow, arrived in New Delhi for the India-Africa CII Business Conclave. The conclave has emerged as one of the largest congregations of senior ministers, policymakers and business leaders from Africa and India, cutting across sectors. The Confederation of Indian Industry, that's CII, in partnership with the Ministry of External Affairs and Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, initiated the Africa Conclave on India-Africa Partnership in 2005. Nepal's Minister for Foreign Affairs, Dr. Arzu Rana Doiba arrived in India on Sunday for a 5-day official visit at the invitation of India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar. In a statement, the Indian Ministry of External Affairs said this visit aligns with the tradition of regular high-level exchanges between India and Nepal. The MEA noted that Nepal is a priority partner in India's neighbourhood first policy. Now, the Supreme Court of India has taken suo motu cognizance of the rape and murder of a doctor at Agargar Medical College in Kolkata. The case will now be heard by a bench led by Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud on Tuesday. The decision to intervene came after two Supreme Court lawyers, Advocates Ujjwal Kaur and Rohit Pandey, penned a letter to the CJI on Thursday, urging him to take immediate action in the case. In their letter, the advocates called for the urgent need for the highest court in the country to step in, given the gravity and seriousness of the incident. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is on a visit to Chennai in Tamil Nadu. On arrival, he was accorded a guard of honour in Chennai. The Defence Minister inaugurated a newly constructed state-of-the-art Indian Coast Guard Maritime Rescue Coordination Centre building in Chennai. He also inaugurated two additional key facilities, the Regional Marine Pollution Response Centre in Chennai and the Coast Guard Air Conclave in Puducherry. Let's now get you some sporting updates as well. Football first, Real Madrid are considering allowing players to go on short holidays during the season because of concerns about the congested fixture schedule. On the eve of their La Liga season debut at Mallorca, Ancelotti said that the steady increase in regional and international games on the calendar has been taking a toll on players. After winning the La Liga and Champions League double last season and now bidding for up to 7 titles in 2024-25 campaign, Coach Ancelotti believes the club needs to make sacrifices to preserve the health and fitness of its players. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen and download the app now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.